It was 2:43 a.m. when I woke up, groggy and half asleep, to use the bathroom. The house was quiet except for the faint hum of the refrigerator downstairs. I swung my legs off the bed, expecting to feel the familiar warmth of my wife beside me. But the space next to me was cold, empty. At first, I thought she might be getting a glass of water or checking on something downstairs. But as I returned from the bathroom, I realized she'd been gone for quite some time. Her phone was still on the nightstand. Her robe hung untouched on the hook. Something didn't feel right. I checked the clock again. 2:47. The longer she stayed gone, the louder my thoughts grew. My wife, Hannah, was not the type to wander around the house at night. She was a light sleeper but careful, organized. She hated being up late. I slipped on a sweatshirt and padded quietly down the hall. The house was dim, only the soft blue glow from the streetlight outside spilling through the blinds. I called her name softly, Hannah. No answer. When I reached the living room, I noticed the back door was slightly open. A chill crawled up my spine. Hannah! I said louder this time. Still nothing. I stepped outside, the cold air hitting me instantly. Our small garden stretched out into the darkness, faintly lit by the motion sensor light. And then I saw her, sitting on the ground near the far corner, her back to me. She was wearing one of my hoodies, her head bowed, shoulders trembling slightly. My heart pounded. Hannah, what are you doing out here? I asked, walking toward her. She turned slowly, startled, her eyes wide as if she'd been caught doing something forbidden. I couldn't sleep, she said quickly, brushing at her cheeks. But her voice was shaky, her eyes red. I crouched down beside her. You're crying, I said softly. She turned away, wiping her face. It's nothing, Mark. Go back inside. I just needed some air. But I knew her better than that. Hannah didn't hide in the garden at 3 a.m. unless something was seriously wrong. What's going on? I pressed. Please, just talk to me. For a moment, she said nothing. Then finally, her lips parted, and she whispered, You're going to hate me. My stomach dropped. Hannah, what are you talking about? She looked down at her hands, trembling. It's about the money. At first, I didn't understand. Money. She took a shaky breath. The savings account. The one we've been building for the new house. I took some of it out a few months ago. I blinked, confused. For what? Her eyes filled again. For my brother. I stared at her. Your brother? The one who cut contact years ago. She nodded. He showed up at my office one day. He was broke, sick, and I didn't know what else to do. He begged me not to tell you. I thought I could pay it back before you noticed. A cold heaviness settled in my chest. We'd spent years saving that money, every spare dollar going into that account. How much? I asked quietly. Almost 10,000, she whispered. I stood up, turning away from her. My mind was spinning. She'd lied. Every month, she'd smiled across the table, talked about our dream house, and all the while she'd been keeping this secret. I didn't yell. I just walked back inside. She followed me, crying quietly, whispering apologies. I went to the kitchen, poured a glass of water, and tried to process it all. Why didn't you just tell me? I asked finally. I was scared, she said. You've always been the responsible one. I didn't want you to think I couldn't handle things. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay awake on the couch, staring at the ceiling, her quiet sobs echoing from the bedroom upstairs. The next morning, I didn't say much. I went to work, my head pounding with anger and confusion. But as the day went on, something strange happened. The anger turned into curiosity. Her story didn't add up. Why would her brother show up out of nowhere after years of silence? That evening, I decided to find out for myself. When I got home, Hannah was in the kitchen making dinner, her eyes swollen from crying. I told her I needed to take the car for a quick errand and left before she could ask questions. I drove to the address she had once mentioned her brother lived at, an old, run-down part of town. The kind of place where the streetlights flicker and the air smells like smoke and metal. I knocked on the door. A young woman answered. I asked for her brother, Tom. She frowned. You mean the guy who used to live here? He moved out months ago. Some people said he was in rehab upstate. My chest tightened. Rehab? My wife never mentioned that. Do you know how he's doing? I asked. She shrugged. Last I heard, he didn't make it. I froze. Didn't make it. The woman nodded, sympathy in her eyes. He passed away 3 weeks ago. The drive home was a blur. When I walked through the door, Hannah was sitting on the couch, staring at the floor. She looked up, startled, as I said quietly, I know about Tom. Tears filled her eyes instantly. You went there, didn't you? I nodded. Why didn't you tell me he died? She covered her face with her hands. Because I didn't want you to think I wasted everything for nothing. I tried to save him, Mark. He called me, begging for help. He promised he was getting clean. I thought if I just gave him one last chance. Her voice cracked, and she broke down completely. He was my little brother. I couldn't watch him die without trying. When he passed, I couldn't bear to tell you. Every time I looked at you, I saw disappointment, and I just couldn't. I stood there for a long moment, watching her crumble under the weight of her guilt. My anger started to dissolve, replaced by something heavier, grief. She hadn't betrayed me out of selfishness. She'd done it out of love, out of desperation. I walked over and knelt beside her. You should have told me, I said softly. You didn't have to go through it alone. I know, she sobbed. I thought I could fix it before you found out. But I just kept making it worse. I took her hand, squeezing it gently. We'll fix it together. That night, we sat on the floor of our living room, talking for hours. She told me everything. How her brother had been living in his car, how she'd been sending money secretly, hoping to pull him out of the mess he was in. And how, in the end, she couldn't save him. It was the most painful conversation we'd ever had, but also the most honest. In the weeks that followed, we went to therapy, rebuilt trust, and slowly started over. The money was gone, but we realized something far more valuable remained, our ability to forgive. Sometimes, when I wake up at night and glance at the empty space beside me, I remember that night, the garden, her tears, the truth. I still ache for what she lost, but I also understand her better than I ever did. I woke up that night thinking something terrible had happened. I was right, but not in the way I thought. My wife wasn't missing. She was mourning, and I'd finally learned why.